Hello and welcome to MEWeedle. Today we're going to take a look again at the Master League Premier Cup. This cup going to be available now from, I think, in around 3 hours, Yeah, in 3 hours it should be available for everybody when I release this video now. So, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have only non-legendary Pokemon, non-mythical Pokemon here available for the Master League conditions, so level 50. It is a decent league, not gonna lie, it is a pretty decent league. It's pretty accessible for most people as well, because you have community days, for example, for Garchomp, for Dragonite, for Gyarados, for Metagross, Ursaluna, all those Pokemon. Memospine Community Day going to be this weekend as well with a triple starters, so definitely play that one as well. So there are a lot of Pokemon, also like the Excadrill here, that are pretty accessible, which is currently an event as a spawn. But also we have at the same time Open Great League available, which is for most people more interesting. So let's take a small look at the meta. We have 10 teams for you to try again. Basic meta going to be Dragonite, Gyarados, Snorlax you're going to see quite a bit, Metagross you're going to see quite a bit, Excadrill you're going to see in basically every single team. Memospine is a cool core breaker for this meta, but it's a little bit squishy, but still kind of works out pretty well. Florges is very decent, but I don't see it too often here. Other one that is now new in the meta is of course Golden Go, which you also have a team, but you also maybe already seen the video earlier today where it showcases Pokemon in some test battles already. Como pretty high, which is kind of funny, but nobody really has this. I've never seen the Como in this meta. Magnezone, very, very good, very underrated, because like a lot of people run Excadrill, so people don't really want to run it. Hydreigon, pretty neutral, and that's basically it for this meta, so let's go right into the teams. First team here, we're going to have a double high horsepower team if you want to play it like this. You can also play, of course, the Metagross on the back works out also pretty well. I actually like the double high horsepower version here, though. We're going to have the lead of the Gyarados, very, very safe there. You could also theoretically use something like the Dragonite, can be a little bit tricky sometimes against Excadrill. Against Excadrill, of course, a water type is a little bit better usually. Sesop, Ursaluna, Thunder Punch going to be able to bait out the potential of Gyarados, which is a pretty common Pokemon for this meta. Having coverage basically for anything that you can really encounter, very good against other flying types, which you really bait out with this. And this really helps out as well those two Pokemon on the back that don't really want to face Gyarados, so a very solid team. Next team here going to be a lead of Metagross. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I feel like that the Garchomp in the back can be really helpful, but this team can be struggling a little bit against something like a Gyarados, to be fair, so this must be something that you can keep in mind. You can actually use something like the Magnezone lead for this one still instead of the Metagross, would help you out a little bit with the Gyarados issue, but otherwise Swap allows you here to hopefully get either, like in general, the lead should be weak against Excadrill, like either Magnezone or the Metagross. Swap going to be very safe against it, and then the Pokemon in the back that can deal with either of those. So actually maybe Magnezone in the lead might be even better for this team, might be something to consider. Double fighting type weakness for Sesop in lead is not as bad for this meta right now, because there are not a lot of fighting types available. Next team here going to be around Golden Go. Golden Go is also an interesting Pokemon here, which also this team already showcased now on the channel. If you want to see some gameplay for this team itself, a link is in the end card basically at the end, so like just wait until the end of the video and you can click on this one. You can also use something like Florges on the back. You kind of want to have something that can deal with those, for example, Dragonite would be a very decent Pokemon to deal with. Otherwise, you have a lead that's very decent against Metagross. You have a Sesop that's going to be also very decent against Metagross, so having a Fairy type on the back can be pretty safe for this team. Golden Go, also a funny Pokemon to use. It would be then double fast move that is Ghost type in the back, which might be interesting as well here, but general very, very safe team. Like there's not a lot that really hard towards either of the Pokemon, so yeah. Let's go into the next team. The next team going to be one of those that you're going to encounter pretty much every time. You're going to have here the lead of the Dragonite, very common lead in this meta as well. Sesop, Snorlax going to be very, very strong, especially if you have the Shadow version. You can also use Ursaluna, but it's a little bit more tricky with this Pokemon, of course. We're going to have here in the back then either the Metagross, which makes you a little bit weaker against something like Excadrill, or your own Excadrill, which makes, of course, a very neutral matchup for this one. But yeah, very like standard team, like they're going to be a lot of standard teams. Like you're always going to see basically the same Pokemon in this meta. That's basically how this meta is going to work. But let's go to the next one. In the next team, you're going to have a Fairy type in the lead. You're going to expect to see a lot of Dragonite and a Gyarados lead. So for those reasons, you kind of want to have those Pokemon like a Togekiss, like a Florges here. Sesop has to be kind of something like a Snorlax. Also could be a Gyarados, but makes you a little bit weaker against something like a Magnezone. While you need definitely a ground type in the back to counter Magnezone, for example, but also other Steel-type Pokemon like a Metagross. So Excadrill is the best answer for Metagross, while Swampert is the best answer in general for also Excadrill. So yeah, depends on what you have. Definitely can work out like this. But let's go into the next team. Next team here going to be the Magnezone in the lead. Together with the Gyarados, it's basically a perfect duo. Like, they cover each other perfectly here. And then you need still something in the back that can deal with Excadrill. So for that reason, we went here for something like the Machamp or the Conkeldurr. You could also, I think, go for something like the Swampert. Makes you maybe a little bit weak against some Flying-type Pokemon, like the Dragonite as well. Dragonite can be a little bit of an issue, while of course you're going to have some coverage with your Fighting-type Pokemon in the back here. But still, should be a pretty solid team here. And you can also flip that one. Next team, of course, then here going to be exactly this one flipped. We're going to have the Fighter in the lead, and we're going to have the Seiso of the Snorlax this time around, while we have kind of the same backline for that one. I would actually go for the Magnezone instead of the Excadrill there instead here, because Magnezone going to give you better coverage against Flying-type Pokemon, which might be a little bit of an issue. But yeah, that's going to be basically the same team as before, but flipped. That's something that you're going to encounter quite a bit of times. You're going to see basically one line, but you can see exactly the same time flip with just a different Seiso, which is making this meta a little bit RPS, unless you're going to go for a completely different route, like for example the first team where we have Ursaluna on there. Like, it's basically, yeah, that's basically always you're going to encounter pretty much the same stuff. So I would recommend you to go actually not completely full meta, but some kind of off meta stuff as well, like the Ursaluna in there. Next team here going to be now a double steel Pokemon in the lead that you could use there. Excadrill most likely a little bit more commonly used, while Metagross is going to be a little bit more significantly better against something like fairy type Pokemon like Florges or the Torcus. Seiso here going to be the Gyarados, of course, trying to get out exactly a fairy type Pokemon, which you're going to then not want to encounter with your Dragonite in the back. In my opinion, most likely the best team here with the Excadrill in the lead, the Seiso of the Gyarados and the Dragonite in the back. What you can actually do here as well for the Gyarados, maybe run a double water moveset, running the Awkward Tail as Hydro Pump as well, because Hydro Pump can flip matchups against the usual fairy type Pokemon, which can be an interesting play as well, still with Dragon Breath as a fast move here, but of course you can also just go for the safe route still with Crunch and Awkward Tail. Next one here going to be one of the OG teams for this meta as well. We're going to have here the lead of Hexers. We're going to have the Seiso of the Snorlax, as well as you're going to have then either the Excadrill or the Metagross in the back. I think also the Magnezone can work, but yeah, this is a team that has been around since the beginning of this cup and still going to be very decent in the current meta right now. Can be a little bit tricky against Gyarados though sometimes, so maybe Magnezone might be even better in the back there. Final one for this video going to be around MEWeedle as well. Again, play the community day for the Saturday there. That's going to be a very good one, as well as you're going to get triple Stardust for catching Pokemon, which is always the best bonus in my opinion. We're going to have the Seiso of the Gyarados here, and we're going to have in the back the Excadrill. Double weakness to counter users again, but there are not a lot of them around, so it's not going to be the biggest issue. MEWeedle itself can just stay in the most matchups and just win those alone, or like get at least an advantage, and then you have a very good core in the back with the Gyarados and the Excadrill. But yeah, this is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like on it. Otherwise, you're going to see now on the screen on the left side the recent video for Golden Go, on the right side the top teams for the Open Great League. Yeah, but yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye!